Welcome to Studio A. Our guest today is Mr. Curtis L. Crisler. Mr. Crisler, thank you for coming into the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Well,
I really appreciate this.
It's a joy. It's a pure joy, especially after hearing you read at Hyde Brothers Bookstore. I was blown away by your work.
Oh, thank you.
Blown away by your
That's
work.
so cool to hear.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
Born and raised.
You went to high school in Gary?
Yeah, I went to William A. Wirt, which is now closed. It was a school. It's like a performing arts school the last time it was open, but it's weird because it's one of the younger schools compared to Roosevelt, Lualis.
So it's odd that it would be closed.
Yeah, but you had a lot of people moving out.
Sure.
And so if you don't have the students to go to the schools,
What are you
the
gonna
schools
do?
is closed.
Right, right. Now, you attended college where?
At SIUC, we call it Southern Illinois University in Carbondale.
What did you study?
I studied English, poetry.
So you have a
So-
bachelor's in English?
So here I went to IPFW and have a bachelor's in English writing with a minor in theater.
Okay.
And then I went to SIUC and got my MFA in poetry.
Very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Why poetry?
I realized I can go back to the 4th grade when I first wrote that I can think about writing a poem. I first wrote a poem about Jackie Robinson with the help of my mom
Okay.
for Black History Month.
Now-
And from that point on, that's the trajectory from that point on.
Your parents, are they writers?
My mom, she didn't really write. So I see a lot of me and my sisters what my mom did. So my mom was modeled, she did theater, she did art, she did all these kind of things. She read a lot, and so we had that. And so my sisters take that from my mom as well. So there's a lot of overlap on what she gave us.
Your mom's a creative soul, a
Yeah.
Renaissance woman, if you will.
Yeah, my mom is. She is everybody knows my mom before they meet her because she's just so vibrant. I talk about her all the time. She's in my poems. She's someone who's just always there. So
Your raison d'etre.
exactly.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. My mother was very much like that as
Yes,
well.
yes.
Very much like that as well. So let me ask you, what appealed to you about studying English?
At first, I got into English for journalism.
Really?
Yeah.
Why
and
journalism?
I was interested and curious, and I wanted answers and all that kind of stuff.
And
so
searching for the truth?
Yeah, and so journalism seemed to be the place to do that.
However,
Until I found out what they do. So back then, you have the newspapers and what have you. So they're looking at spaces more than the actual aspect of a story. So
Right.
it's like, we have this space and we need to fill this space. And, so what do you have to fill that space? And my story would be way longer than that. And so they just cut up stuff. So I was actually working for, I think it was the communicator for IPFW, and they had me go out to this prayer breakfast. And it was a prayer breakfast from people from around the world.
Okay.
And it was so amazing because the majority of people spoke more than one language. And the common language happened to be French, and it was just so cool to see these people from Africa or, Germany or wherever they were from speaking this common language that wasn't English. And so I thought that was really cool. So in my story, I wrote, all about that and stuff. And then I got this little thing, they're having a meeting about this. Is like when, what, where, how, and that was it. They didn't want any of the other stuff.
When
go
I
ahead.
took journalism, I was told, because I thought journalism for me as well when I was at IU Bloomington, I was told I was too flowery. My language was too flowery. And then I was told, have you thought about fashion design? Maybe you want to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, completely.
Wow. They're just going to put you in another
Yeah.
lane without even,
Completely,
wow.
completely different.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what I noticed was after that, I did a couple other things before I quit. And what I did was I would send it to the communicator. They would cut it up.
yeah,
And then I would send it to, what was our black
ink,
Frost.
frost,
I would send it to Frost, and Frost would print the whole thing.
really?
Yeah, and so it was just a big difference in what they were, what was getting said and told. And I was like,
And
well, maybe
whose
this
perspective?
is, yeah, and maybe this is not for me. So
Right.
yeah.
So you decided English.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. And what appeals to you about English? What appeals to you about language and words and ideas?
I just love the way we interact with each other.
Okay.
Be it someone's fumbling to say something, be it someone has broken English, be it someone can address 3 different groups in one setting because they know 3 different languages. So they can play into 3 different worlds. But I'm attuned to I'm attuned to how we just, it's through language, it's through narrative that we know everything we know, and that we connect with each other. And when we don't do those things, that's why we have these bifurcations and things that we have now. But I think language, from the get-go, when you have a little baby,
Yeah.
and that baby doesn't know how to say stuff, and they're mocking you.
Right.
And, they're trying to say stuff that you're saying.
Right.
And how someone says something, and it has a poetic edge to it, and it's not even, they don't even consider it poetry because they're like, I don't do poetry. It's like, but you just had this alliteration in what you just said, and then it has this aspects of paradox in it too. And to be able to see that and hear that and know that. And
that's poetry.
And I say poets are the most truthful of liars, which means we all lie, but poets through art tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why it's probably you won't see a president as a poet. that is a poet in that sense, because it would be hard to not address what's true to you emotionally, factually, and all those types of things. So yeah, I'm just attuned to, like, we were talking about Lucille Clifton earlier, me and Erica, and Lucille Clifton says, poetry comes to me, so I'm open to poetry.
Okay.
Or I think she says it back. I said that wrong. She said, I'm open to poetry so poetry comes to me.
So poetry comes to me.
And I feel the same way.
You feel the same way about you and poetry. Where do you get your inspiration from? From everything? From
everything. I have this thing, I say we magnify the minute. That means we look at every little thing. If I had, if I took off my watch right here, and put my watch there, you just see me putting a watch there. But what if I use persona now and have the watch speak? Dude, I was on your arm minding my own business. Now all of a sudden you're making me, the center of attention. They have cameras on me. There's a light shining on me. Can you put me back on your arm? And we do that for ants, for trees, for anything that we need to do in voice. And I think there's something about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to see the environment that we're in. We need to understand the environment that we're in. And poets and artists, that's what we do.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what you do. you said fourth grade was your first poem
that I can think of. Yeah.
that you can remember about Jackie Robinson?
Hmm.
And did you write poetry throughout high school, throughout junior high, high school?
Secretively.
You did?
Yeah. So I have a ex-girlfriend who says she has some poetry from junior high going into, it would be more probably junior high going into high school.
So eighth, ninth grade?
Yeah. And so I just want to see it to see how bad I was as a writer then. But she had it in storage, so I could never get to her when
Yeah.
it wasn't in storage.
Yeah.
But I just want to see how bad I was at that point. I didn't start keeping my poetry until probably late in high school and getting out of high school.
Okay.
And I had a 3-ring binder of stuff that
That's
I would
when you
have.
feel like you sort of learned your voice? Or when did that happen?
I was practicing. I didn't have
Okay.
my voice yet,
All
but
right.
I was doing stuff with the page, engaging with the page and doing
Okay.
things. And then it wasn't until the 90s that I started wanting to be published and things of that nature. And so I got more serious about it.
Okay.
I had education through IPFW where I was learning about older poets. I was learning about surrealist poets. I was learning about the difference in surrealism with the French versus the difference. They're heady, they're playful, and smart, kind of clever in that sense, versus the poetry or the surrealist poets who are Latino and they're more in the heart and more sensual and emotional. So I was getting that from school, where outside of school I was looking at the Harlem Renaissance, the Black Arts Movement and stuff like that, the Beat Movement, and all this stuff just kind of merged together. So my poetry tends to embody a lot of that.
So it's an amalgamation of
Yes.
many different influences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who's your favorite poet?
Oh, that's a hard one. There's someone new, like, I won't say that they're new. When I first heard my voice on the page, it was Langston Hughes, and moving into the Black Arts Movement and through the Harlem Renaissance, I was seeing Nikki Giovanni, like you said, Sonia Sanchez, Haki Madhubuti,
Haki Madhubuti.
all these different people, Gwendolyn Brooks.
Yeah.
But I love Sandberg, I love Whitman, Yeats, Keats. It was Dickinson, Poe. Did a lot of American literature and stuff like that.
So it's too hard to narrow it down to a favorite.
The one person I really look to now, whose voice is just in my head, is a friend named John Guzlowski.
Okay.
And his life is amazing. His mother and father came together after in the prison camps in Germany, I think it was, if I'm correct, and that's where they met.
Okay.
After World War II.
Right.
So he has all these poems about his mother and his father and how they're trying to, from that point on, being prisoners in concentration camps and moving to Chicago and moving to the places that they moved to, how they tried to address life with all that trauma that they carry with them.
Right.
And when it is weird because people talk about, oh, it didn't happen, it was fake or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. It's like, this dude is a product of what you're talking about is fake.
Right.
And how do you come and tell him that his life doesn't matter, that his life isn't real?
Right.
And he's like, no, I will not have that. And he writes these poems. He has this one poem in Lightning and Ashes about his father, what his father ate. And there's this, it's like a litany poem. And he was like, he ate buttons, he ate dirt, he ate, and it just, and this is, it's just so powerful.
Yeah,
So to
yeah.
have somebody
Dismiss.
dismissed, but this is the history of who they are,
Right.
and he just, and he's still just writing. He's
Yeah.
still writing these powerful poems.
And he's one of your favorites.
Yeah, right now he's always on my mind, and to have him here at this moment, I think is really powerful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about you being the Indiana Poet Laureate. Kudos to you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
You are the 8th Hoosier in this position,
Mhm.
the 2nd African American male
Yeah.
in this position, 2nd African American period in this position. What does a poet laureate do?
Okay, so the first thing is the overall thing is we represent Indiana in getting poetry out to our Hoosiers. So I have a connection with the Indiana Arts Commission where I have to do a couple of things for them. And like the Poetry Out Loud, I had to judge that. This was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so that poet goes on from Indiana and they go to DC to represent Indiana. And we have some really powerful high schoolers out there
Really?
doing poetry. And Erica and I were talking about this earlier too, and it's like
Now, when you say Erica,
Erica Anderson Center, she's my assistant.
Okay.
And friend and poet, fellow poet, all
Okay.
that stuff.
Wonderful.
So we were talking about how I was saying how I hate kids today because they have all this stuff we didn't have. You know, they have brave new voices. They have these slam teams, and they have poetry out loud and stuff. Man, we didn't have that when I was in high school.
Right.
And I don't hate them.
No, I know that. I
But
know.
but it's just they have all these opportunities, and the people, the students who are really into it and take advantage of it, they get a lot because they're working with professional writers.
Yeah.
And seeing professional writers, and
They have access that we didn't have.
yes, yes, and to people who are living and writing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
versus everyone that you're reading is, you know, has passed on,
Right.
or you're reading something from a certain time period.
Right.
You know, yeah, and they have access to us. So, so work with Indiana Arts Commission, and then what I'm setting up is I started this thing called the Indiana Chitlin Circuit.
Okay.
And so the Chitlin Circuit plays off of the Chitlin Circuit that happened during Jim Crow
Right.
times, where because of Jim Crow, you couldn't, black entertainers couldn't go in the front door. They couldn't be with white people on the stage and things like that. This is when you had the white only, black only
Correct.
bathrooms and water fountains and stuff. So just like the Green Book,
Yep.
the Chitlin Circuit was a circuit to where people can go and be safe. So it'd be kind of like the juke joints and stuff like that. And they come into town, they give you a little money, they feed you,
Give you a
give
place
you a bed
to stay.
to stay for the night
Yeah.
till you go to the next place.
Yeah.
And so what I do is get a couple of poets together. We do, we all get introduced, and then we do a round robin of 20 minutes where
Nice.
whoever reads first, we just feed off of each other
yeah,
for the
yeah.
20 minutes. Then each person has their own set, and then we read a poem together, like Come Celebrate With Me, Won't You Celebrate With Me by Lucille Clifton.
Okay.
And afterwards we have a Q&A, hopefully food, music, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
And I want to take that to as many places in Indiana as I can.
All right.
We have 94 counties. I won't be able to get to 94 counties,
Uh-huh.
but hopefully I can be in a central place. Like, say if I'm here, I can represent Allen, Adams, Wells, you know, the kind of thing. So I can at least be in
A central location.
a central location to where people can come see me
Yeah, yeah.
or see us.
That
Yeah.
sounds incredible, just based on hearing you only.
Hmm.
I just think you with a couple of other poets would be fantastic.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't want, I don't want them, I don't want to just burn out and they get tired of me and all that. Yeah, I have a new book out and all that, but I want to commune with other Hoosiers. I want them to see what they have in their location as well.
Yeah.
So they can, yeah, they get me, but they, if they don't know about these other
Other,
poets,
yeah.
it's like these people are here. I just asked them to come up to the stage with me.
Right here in
Yeah.
your own backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about your book, your new book. What is it entitled?
Doing drive-bys on how to love in the Midwest.
Interesting. How did you come up with that title, sir?
The titular poem addresses me seeing a friend who happened to be in an assisted living / nursing home in Huntington.
Okay.
She was in one when she was here in Fort Wayne, but then she got to move out. Huntington was a better place for her. And so she's living on this big spread with these nuns and things of that nature, and she's Catholic.
Okay.
And so it just played well for all her health and things that she was doing. And so I go down there sometimes and we see movies, we go out to eat or whatever, and she said, well, they have a new Starbucks, and she likes coffee. So I'm not a Starbucks person, but when I'm there, I'm just usually there with her or someone who likes Starbucks.
Okay.
So we go there.
Is there a reason you don't like Starbucks?
I don't drink coffee.
Oh, so you're not a coffee drinker
I'm
in
not
general.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and every time I ask for a sandwich, they'd never have it. They just had the displays. Can I get this one right here with the spinach? And oh, we don't have that right now. I'm like, can I get the display? Can I get no? So, but anyway.
So you and she.
We went to Starbucks, and I was the only African American in the building, and so there were men outside. It was kind of like today. It was a kind of sunny day.
Yeah.
Where it's breaking and it's kind of getting a little warm, and so they were outside, and all the people that were inside were white females. And so they were looking at me a little side-eyed and all that.
You think they were questioning why you were with the woman you were with?
I don't know what they were doing, to be truthful.
But you noticed, you had that energy
I felt
from
my
them.
spidey senses were tingling.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so when she went to the bathroom, I was looking up something on Miles Davis, and I saw something. Oh, it was about his trumpet. He had these 3 trumpets made. One was he gave to, I think he gave to Christie's. One he gave to his family, and one he was buried with.
Okay.
And
wow, I did not know that.
yeah, and so she went to the bathroom, and I'm seeing eyes on me and it all spawned from that. So just putting all those things together, and then amalgamating that into me coming to visit, to see her, us going through that, and then us leaving, and I say something to the extent that she's Bathsheba and I'm something else, and we go out into our chariot, and I leave, and I place her back in the hands of the nuns, and when I'm driving back, it's like I felt like I'm meant to be here.
Yeah.
And so that's where, that was the title poem for the book.
Okay.
And everything spawns from that.
Why a book now?
I've been working on this book for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So it just happened.
So it's not new. This is not a new thing. This is a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I won the contest in 22.
Okay.
So we've been working on, CNR Press and I have been working on this for a long time. And then we finally got down to the nuts and bolts of stuff happening from June to December.
Okay.
So the book actually officially came out December 12/31/23.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's really new.
Yeah, it is really new. It
Mhm.
really is new. So let me ask you, given all that we've discussed about poetry, we've got about 3 minutes left.
Mhm.
Uh, is poetry an antiquated art form?
No.
Is it offensive to ask the poet laureate that?
Mm, probably.
Okay.
It's not antiquated. It's, I would say, since we've had words, since we've had symbols, since you have hieroglyphics and cave drawings and stuff like that, we've been telling narratives.
Okay.
And those narratives are being told by, orators or people who are giving their position to tell stories and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that? We do that through fiction. We do that through poetry. We
Right.
do that through art. And so there's nothing that we don't know that is not a narrative.
Okay.
And so all poets are doing are playing with words and aligning those words in some aspect of a form, some aspect of prosody or rhythmic mimicry in a sense. And all we've been doing is getting better, hopefully, at that.
Okay.
So from the beginning of time, we've been doing this.
And last but not least, how does music inform your work? Jazz, we've talked a little bit before about that you like jazz and it informs your work in some ways. You have a piece where Stevie Wonder is the background music to your artwork.
I say Stevie Wonder, well, I say Motown is
Motown.
the soundtrack to my life, because there's not been a day in my life that there has not been Motown.
Yeah.
When I was born, it came out, Motown was happening.
Uh-huh.
And so Stevie Wonder, I felt, had not been, no one had written anything about Stevie Wonder in depth.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. At least, I mean, there are poems about him, but no one had a book. And so I decided to write about Stevie Wonder. But I write about, I'm in love with music. I used to be a dancer and a singer and a rapper and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so I'm connected to music, so it shows up in my poetry big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, get the book, people. He's an
Please.
incredible writer, an incredible man. Thank you for coming into the studio, Curtis.
Thank you so much for having me.
What
I really
a joy.
appreciate it.
What a joy.
Yes.
We'll have to have you back again.
Okay, yes.
Thank you for tuning in, and be blessed.